Just
Welcome, everyone, to Carving a New Path. My name is Andrea Hylen, and I am the host of this show. And for anyone who is listening for the first time, this podcast began in 2020 in response to all the change that was happening in the world. And I really wanted to invite guests who I knew had listened to their inner voice at different times, and that with endings or disruptions had birthed new ways of being in the world. And so there's always an element of that in the conversation where we tune in to a desire and insight and instinct. So today, my guest is Marie Ek Lipanovska. And for if you have been listening to the show, we just finished a 3-part series where Marie was talking about her 25-year transformation in a relationship with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And the descriptions or links to those shows are in the show page. So if you didn't listen and you would like to, they're right there for easy access. And today I'm so excited because we're starting a 12-part series. The overall arching title of it is Unfolding the Gift from God. And today we're going to talk about life. And so, Marie, before I say a few more words about you, I want to say welcome. And I'm excited that we're starting this next weekly series.
thank you. Me too.
Mhm.
I love these conversations and exploring together with you. So
I do too. And Marie is really the perfect person to partner with for deeper conversations and collaboration, a collaborative conversation, because we really have a beginning place, but we just never know where this conversation is going to go. So, just a few words to bring you into the energy of Marie. She helps women become a good mother to themselves and to develop a deep and personal relationship to God. She does this through meditation, writing, and art. She is a writer, illustrator, artist, and meditation teacher, and also the founder of Heal My Voice Sweden and a publisher of 13 books. So, welcome, Marie, into the conversation that we're just beginning today, unfolding the gift from God. Focus is life.
mm,
Yeah.
thank
So,
you.
I'll just turn it over to you to see if there's some words that you have to begin this conversation.
Yeah, it is a series of 12 episodes. And the title Unfolding the Gift from God, it is, life is that gift. It's that center. And as I said to you before we started this conversation, it is like a flower. I see it as a daisy. And life is that yellow, circle in the center. And then the other episodes are the petals. And without that center, there would be no flower. So that's holding everything together. And when I think of life in this show, I think of the divine life. But it begins with the life that I was given in 1968 by my parents.
Mm-hmm.
That is the starting point.
Yeah.
That somehow I have to be, I need to have some kind of life form. And mine is human, being human, to also carry divine life.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I feel is kind of interesting is that I'm the youngest child of 4. And I was not planned.
Mhm.
So sometimes I have asked myself, then who wanted me? I was loved. When I came to this earth, my mother loved me so, and my siblings and my father probably too. But somehow they didn't plan for me to exist. So
Mhm.
sometimes I've asked myself, but who did? And I came to the conclusion that I'm here because God wanted me. He wanted a daughter. Therefore I am. And I guess, being a human being, your life is about growing up from the beginning, growing up, living in a family, having maybe siblings and parents, hopefully, going to school, getting your education, getting to know yourself, what you want to do in the world. And then maybe you will also start a family and have children. And I have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. So one part of life for me is that line of life, of human life. So I came out of my mother, and my children came out of me. And now my daughter has given birth to 2 children. So some kind of life that is that has an aspect of divine life, just by the reproduction. It is an aspect. It is some kind of image of God. Life just passes over to the next generation, to the next generation, and to the next generation. My mother is 93 years old. She has maybe some years left to live, and then she's gone, but I will live with her in my heart. So she will continue to live through me. And hopefully I will continue to live through my children and grandchildren. So, but at the age of, for me, around 50, and being really, really sick and feeling that I'm, I don't know the outcome. I could die or I can continue to live.
Mhm.
That was a new phase in my life. That was the realization of my life is not just my life. I carry divine life within me. And that was knowing that it's not just my life, but within me, God has put his life also. And that is in some case similar to carrying children, in my own body and nurturing them and breastfeeding them. But it has this eternal aspect that changes also the way I look at myself, my own body, but also my life. What's the purpose of my life?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I guess that can't happen in the beginning of life, often not, because all your energy goes to living your own life and maybe having children and taking care of their life. So I guess this is a gift when you have the space to carry the divine life and give birth to that in different aspects. So, yeah, I don't know if it makes any sense, but
Oh my gosh, I have so many threads that we could go with because what you just said, and I encourage the listeners to pause and think about what Marie's words have already brought up for you. So I know I want to circle back to a couple of things. One is the idea that we are wanted or we wouldn't be alive. And that it may be that if anyone has a complicated relationship with their birth parents and feel like they weren't wanted, they weren't treated like they were wanted or whatever, to know that you were wanted or you would not be here. And it actually makes me think about how I knew that I wanted to have another child, but I would never, like, I got pregnant with my fourth child at a time that was not planned at all. And matter of fact, I even was feeling like I was really irresponsible that it had happened because I had a child who had a congenital heart defect and he was in and out of the hospital a lot at that time. But do you know that my daughter was born 2 weeks after my son died? I am not in charge of the timing. Even when I was trying to get pregnant with the other three children, it never happened in my time. It happened when it happened. It's like, no, I was like, oh, I'd like to get pregnant this month. And then it was 6 months later. Or it was like, I'd like to get pregnant in 6 months. And then it happened right away. And, it was like, it's not in my time. It is in time, that God's time, Spirit's time, the soul of the child. So I really love, I would love for everyone to really take that in, that if you are alive, you were wanted and you would not be here if you weren't. How we are raised by humans, and all of us are imperfect in our, no matter how much we want to be whatever, perfect or more better, we all make mistakes in parenting children. We've all made mistakes in, that's part of life, is like making mistakes. So if you have a complicated relationship with your parents and you're like, they should have done better or whatever, that's different than what we're talking about. We're talking about you were wanted, and to know that you matter, you are loved, even if you don't have the evidence from someone who you think should be showing you that. And I feel like that is a really, really powerful thing for us to realize, the timing of it. I mean, think about even children who are born a month earlier than their due date, or weeks later, or they're induced to bring them into the world. It's like, we're not in charge of the timing, and to know you are wanted and that when you arrive, you do have a purpose, or like I like to say, what is my mission? Like, I'm from another planet. I'm here to experience life. What did I want to bring forward in this lifetime? Yeah. So I don't know. Does that strike anything with you about this whole being wanted, and that you matter and you're important and you have value, and yeah.
Yeah, I love everything you say, and thank you for talking to the listener. I'm so focused on talking to you, so I sometimes forget.
Well, yes, I'm always thinking, I so appreciate the listeners, and
Yeah,
because
me
their
too.
energy helps to bring forth the topic, and that's that we all understand. We're all connected in this way. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing the listeners in. So, um, yeah, I guess the difference between the life that I was given by my parents, because it's a gift. That's
Yeah.
why the name of the series is Unfolding the Gift from God. Life is a gift.
Mhm.
It's not something you can buy, even though we can today help parents become pregnant.
Mhm.
It's still a gift,
Oh, yeah.
and it should be treated as a gift, and every child is a gift. But not all babies are received in that way by their parents or community as a gift. And so there is a huge difference between human love and divine love, human life and divine life, because divine life is love. So love will not be a petal on the flower. Divine life is love. Human
Yeah.
life is not always love. Hopefully it is. It should be, you know, love. But we all know that it's not always.
Mhm.
Not even the best parents are perfect, as you say.
Yeah.
So the difference is divine love, divine life is love.
Mhm. Yeah, so thinking about the daisy, I just want to bring that image in for everyone, is that it's the yellow center. So that's the love. That's where there's the purity of it. And it starts with that. You know what's interesting about daisies too is that they follow the sun. So if
Mhm.
you go and you watch, and it's funny because last year Beth Terrence and I were doing the 31 days connecting to the land, and I chose a daisy to build a relationship with. And so I was always sitting and watching the daisies, and then I read about daisies and all of that. So I'm very in tune with the daisy energy and the joy of the daisy. But during the day, the daisies move, they turn where the sun, so that they're always facing the sun. I mean, it's like the source, right? So it's here, the center is
Yeah.
always connected
Mhm.
with source, with it. And for the listeners, whatever you call this source, we're using God as the word, but you may have a different word, you may have a different belief system, but it's still the energy source, the love, the universal love is right there in the center. Yeah.
Yeah, and love is the only energy that can create life.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Mm.
So, and when I look back as a child, my desire was to create a family, and create a safe space for my children. I was raised I had a father that was an alcoholic. So for me, that aspect of love that I felt for my future kids was to create as a safe environment as possible for them.
Mm.
I don't wanted them to live in poverty. I don't wanted them to be scared. I wanted them to be children. So, and looking back on that desire that I had as a teenager, that was coming from love.
Mhm. Mhm.
And now, as a 55-year-old woman, and my children are adults, it's no longer about, this is so weird because I have always felt like I'm a passionate woman,
Mhm. Mhm.
and but connecting to that divine love has changed me in a lot of ways. I have become more peaceful, more patient, I have more self-control.
Mhm.
I'm not as spontaneous, I think I allow, ideas to grow.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this might, so I'm no longer connecting myself to the desire to find out what is God's will for my life.
Mhm.
It comes from a whole new kind of energy. And it is more about I want to obey, but not in a way that I diminish myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I want to obey. That's a new kind of love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an obedience from trust, from a deep, deep trust of God knowing what I need and you need and everyone needs. So the legacy I want to, you know, leave to the world when I die, when I pass over. And this might sound weird, as like I'm crazy or yeah, but I want my legacy to be able to stand for 1,000 years.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that is not hybris. It's hubris, I think you say.
Mhm.
It comes from that deep trust and obedience. It's like, I think the Indians are thinking about 7 generations.
Right. Yeah.
And for me, I see it as a oak. And that's actually my last name as a child, Oak.
Mhm.
And some oaks can live for almost 1,000 years if you allow them.
Yeah.
And I want to leave a legacy that lasts for 1,000 years. And that is not from my own desire, because my own desire is not that big. It comes from that deeper aspect of me. And I still don't know what that legacy is going to be, because of course I ask myself, what stands for that 1,000 years?
Mhm.
But maybe it's just something simple. It usually is. It could be a book.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
you know. It's not a big building, no. It's not a huge organization, no. It never is, because they don't last more than a decade or maybe a century or two. Then they
Mhm.
will start. So it's
Yeah.
not something that I'm supposed to build. It's something that I'm going to leave to people, that are coming after me. So
I find it, again, you sharing, I could go in a bunch of different directions. The first image that comes to me is that, yes, there is a lifespan even for trees that do not live forever, but live for 1,000+ years. And that so an oak tree has acorns that get planted, and then so that's the passing on of the legacy of, so we can look at 7 generations, but it's not that, oh, it just ends at that. It's that what continues to be, what's the next cycle of the 7 generations. And so that ongoing cycle. And then the other thing that comes to me is, I don't know why I'm can't think of the word for it, even in English. Um, it's the study that we now know that our DNA is encoded with memories from our ancestors, and that there's been science that shows, for instance, if there was a great-grandparent who was in a war and had effects from that war on their nervous system, let's just say, that can be passed on, because there's this wondering of like, well, why is the great-grandchild who's just born filled with anxiety? Where does that anxiety come from? And these encodings. So it even feels like the more that we choose to fill ourselves with love, that is part of the legacy that gets passed on, partly from interacting with people in families or friend groups or communities where you walk through the grocery store just radiating love, and that in the cells of your body is passed on to your children, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the 7 generations. So it's got me curious about that part also of our legacies, what we pass on through the cells of our body, through the ripple effect of how we live our lives and how that gets passed on, the way we interact with each other, the way that we pass on our talents and skills. I was noticing the other day, one of my daughters posted on Facebook and sent us some texts where she and her husband were in nature with their easels and their art supplies. And I was noticing how my granddaughter, who's 11, or almost 11, she has a natural artistic ability. Her father also has that artistic, the same kind of medium kind of style and everything else. And I was noticing that by just creating an atmosphere where they have the supplies, they create the time, they're in nature, how she's developing her own style, but it's being passed on to her, the value of it, the consciousness around it. So yeah, whenever we get into the whole our lives and passing on the legacy, like I look for an expanded view of what we think legacy is, and certainly sharing our wisdom in a book, in a piece of art, in something does stand the test of time in some ways. I mean, I have my great-grandfather's story of his life, and it's like it's 50 years that I've had that story of his life, but it also speaks to a time from like almost 150 years ago. So I hope to pass that down. So even, the stories that we pass on. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what you mentioned, isn't it called intergenerational trauma? Something like that?
Intergenerational trauma, but there's another thing. All right, I've got to, I talk about this all the time. I can't believe that I can't remember. Yeah, anyway, you keep talking.
Yeah, and the other thing that I was thinking about is, I don't know if that's the word, but we mimic. Do we say that?
Yes.
And when you copy other people's behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't find it, but it just came to me as I started searching. Epigenetics. It's called epigenetics. It's a certain kind of science where
Ah,
they've been able to see that things are passed down and that we do have the power to change our DNA.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I
So
guess
yes,
it's easier
mimicking.
to,
Mhm.
yeah, but I think it's easier to start maybe to change our behaviors. So,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and that's one of the things that the reason why the gospel is so important for me is that I want to copy his way of life.
Hmm.
I don't want to copy the way of life that I see on social media,
Hmm.
on Facebook, in the news.
Yeah.
I don't want to copy ugly comments, on a post.
Hmm.
I don't want to copy those who throw away food and greed and anger and hate. I want to copy reconciliation,
Hmm.
love,
Yeah.
being willing to sacrifice sometimes for someone else,
Yeah.
uh, generosity, tolerance. And for me to being able to copy that, I need someone to copy. And
Mhm.
the only person that I know that do not have those human faults is Jesus. So without the gospel to read the life of the life of Jesus, then I would copy my parents and grandparents and friends and society and you know
Yeah.
so I need to learn about his life to become so that that divine life within me grows.
Hmm.
So it's almost like every time I go to church and receive communion, uh, I think of it as really like nurturing the divine life within me.
Hmm.
I'm a very physical person.
Hmm.
My body, God speaks through my body. So I can sense in my body the difference between before I have taken the bread and the wine and after. I can feel the peace. I can feel the love, you know. How? I don't know. I don't have to know. I trust my own body. And I'm fortunate because I have carried three or given birth to three children. So I know how it feels to carry life and to be extra gentle towards myself when I have another human being inside of my body. It's not just about me. If I smoke, that little child smokes too.
Hmm.
If I drink, that little child drinks. And I carry that experience with me
Hmm.
as a way of also carrying divine life. I have to be careful. It is innocent. It is pure. I have to, my thoughts can interrupt that life. My actions, my emotions. Uh, so it's really about also being a mother, about a mother to that divine life.
Hmm.
Nurturing, breastfeeding, comforting.
Mhm.
Uh, but in the same way, the source of that love that I have for that divine love is the divine love. So I'm just giving it back, actually.
Yes. Yes, you're keeping the cycle going. And, Marie and I both have children and grandchildren. And so the metaphors of birth and all are really personal. And just know that if you don't have children, or you don't have animals that you care for, or you're not tending a garden or doing those specific things, you still, the legacy that you are leaving in the world matters. The way that you cultivate that love within yourself matters. It's, the frequency of the way that you walk through the grocery store. It's the way you walk in your neighborhood. It's the way that you interact with people and animals and the earth. So just know that sometimes even the words that we're using, mother, we're talking about the big energy of love and nurturance, and how we can all impact. We all are impacting each other. So how do you want to be in the world? As Marie said, love is the only energy that can create. And you have that power within you. You have the center of the daisy within you. It's right there. Yeah. So I know we could talk forever about this, and I feel really just inspired by everything that you've been bringing forth, Marie. Is there a way that you would like to kind of wrap up the show, to bring to completion for today?
Yeah, I guess I can actually wrap it up with the words in the title, Unfolding the Gift from God, is from this book that you and I did a collaboration around.
Yeah.
Heal My Voice Sweden book.
Yeah, read the title for anyone who can't see that. Read the title out loud.
Sensual Voices, True Stories by Women Exploring Connection and Desire. And my story was Unfolding the Gift from God. And in that book, I wrote, my heart tells me I'm here to experience a graceful living. That is the core of being me. Graceful living is the essence of my lifestyle when all my desires are aligned and all my feminine aspects, the daughter, mother, and woman, are one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and that was a collaboration between Heal My Voice and Heal My Voice Sweden, and 12 women from Sweden and 8 from the United States. There's all the words are the same, but because of the way the publishing was at the time, there is a cover available in Sweden and a cover available in the US and probably some other places. So the same book, different cover, and same powerful words, graceful living. Yeah. Thank you, Marie. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the listeners for being here. And our next topic, which I knew, but is it going to be writing?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one we do, it's funny, I wrote it down and then I'm so in the energy of what we were just talking about. So the next episode is going to be Unfolding the Gift from God, and we're going to talk about writing. So this was kind of a ending the show with the writing focus and beginning the next one with writing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marie. Thank you to the listeners, and we will see you another time. Bye-bye now.
Bye.